Captain Rachel Harrison stood at parade rest, trying not to smile as Ambassador Kexval's crystalline appendages trembled in what she'd learned to interpret as utter disbelief. The Xyrillian delegation had been watching the human combat demonstration for the past hour, their translucent bodies flickering with increasingly agitated patterns of light. "You mean to tell me," Kexval's translator hummed, "that your species engages in direct physical combat, without autonomous units?" "That's correct, Ambassador," Rachel replied, maintaining her professional demeanor despite the amusing situation. "While we do employ various technological aids and support systems, human soldiers are our primary combat force." The assembly hall of the International Space Defense Force headquarters buzzed with whispered conversations among the Xyrillian observers. Their crystalline forms caught the afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows, creating a symphony of rainbow refractions across the walls. But the energy expenditure, the biological limitations, the risk to organic tissue. Kexval's voice crescendoed with each point, their crystalline structure vibrating at frequencies that made the nearby windows hum. "Our analysis indicated your species must be using advanced android proxies. The reports of human soldiers continuing to function despite significant damage." "Ah, you're probably referring to the Proxima Centauri incident," Rachel nodded, gesturing to her colleague. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, would you mind sharing your experience?" Rodriguez stepped forward, his cybernetic leg catching the light. 3 years ago, during the Battle of Proxima, I lost my leg to enemy fire, kept fighting for another 6 hours until we secured our objective, got this fancy replacement afterward." He demonstrated by rotating his ankle 360 degrees, causing several Xyrillian observers to flicker in horror. "This is most disturbing," Kexval managed, their translator struggling to convey the mix of awe and terror in their harmonic frequencies. "You deliberately continue fighting after sustaining catastrophic damage to your organic form." "Well, we prefer not to get hit in the first place," Rachel explained. "But yes, human soldiers are trained to continue their mission as long as physically possible. We're quite resilient." The Xyrillian military attaché, Commander Vexter, moved forward, their crystalline form pulsing with analytical patterns. "Our combat doctrine is built entirely around automated units precisely because organic beings are too valuable to risk in direct confrontation. The resource investment in training alone." "Oh, we invest plenty in training," Rachel assured them. "But we found that human adaptability and creative thinking give us advantages that artificial systems can't match. Would you like to see another demonstration?" Before Kexval could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Rachel's comm unit crackled to life with urgent reports of unidentified vessels breaching the solar system's outer defense perimeter. "Well, Ambassador," Rachel said, checking her tactical display, "it seems you might get to see a live demonstration instead." "Lieutenant Rodriguez, Sound General Quarters." "Commander Vexter, if you'd like to observe human combat operations firsthand, you're welcome to join us in the command center." As the Xyrillian delegation followed her through the rapidly mobilizing headquarters, Rachel couldn't help but notice their increasing agitation. The concept of humans as frontline combatants clearly violated everything they understood about civilized warfare. "Captain Harrison," Kexval called out as they hurried down the corridor, "your species' approach to combat is most unconventional." Rachel grinned over her shoulder. "Ambassador, you haven't seen anything yet. Wait until you see what humans can do when we're really motivated." The command center's doors slid open to reveal organized chaos as human operators coordinated the defense response. The Xyrillian observers watched in fascination as flesh and blood beings calmly directed complex military operations without any apparent artificial assistance. "Today's going to be very educational for everyone," Rachel announced, taking her position at the command station. "Now who's ready to learn why humans prefer the personal touch in combat?" The Xyrillian's crystalline forms pulsed with what might have been anticipation or terror. Probably both, Rachel thought as she began issuing orders. Sometimes the best way to understand humanity was to see them in action. As the situation unfolded, Rachel couldn't help but think that this unexpected incident might prove to be exactly what they needed to bridge the cultural gap with their new allies. After all, nothing built understanding quite like watching humans do what they did best: the impossible. The command center's holographic display lit up with dozens of incoming hostile signatures. Rachel's fingers danced across her control panel as she assessed the situation. Beside her, Ambassador Kexval's crystalline form flickered with increasing frequency. These patterns, Commander Vexter observed, their analytical harmonics cutting through the controlled chaos. They matched known configurations of the Swarm Collective. Hostile biomechanical units, Rachel confirmed, her expression grim. They'd been probing our outer colonies for months. Looks like they finally decided to test our home defenses. She activated the facility-wide comm. All combat personnel, this is Captain Harrison. Battle stations, this is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. The Xerillian delegation watched in fascination as human soldiers rushed to their positions without the aid of automation or AI coordination. Their crystalline forms resonated with confusion at the apparent disorder that somehow contained an underlying efficiency. But where are your combat drones? Kexval demanded. Your autonomous defense platforms. Oh, we have those, Rachel replied, activating another display showing orbital defense stations. But they're support units, not our primary force. Lieutenant Rodriguez, status of ground teams. Strike teams Alpha through Echo ready for deployment, Captain. The 7th Tactical is suited up and waiting for drop clearance. A massive explosion rocked the facility. Emergency lights flashed as backup systems engaged. Through the reinforced windows, they could see the first wave of swarm vessels breaching the atmosphere, their biological hulls gleaming like wet obsidian in the sunlight. They're not following standard assault protocols, Vexter noted, their crystalline form pulsing with tactical analysis patterns. These attack vectors are irregular. That's why you don't rely solely on automated defenses, Rachel explained, strapping on her tactical gear. The swarm adapts to predictable responses, but they have a harder time with human unpredictability. She checked her weapon systems. Ambassador, I apologize, but I'll need to join my troops. Commander Vexter, you're welcome to observe from our secure command post. You're going into combat personally. Kexval's translator couldn't quite capture the mixture of horror and disbelief in their harmonics. But you're a command officer. Exactly, Rachel grinned, securing her helmet. Best way to command is to lead from the front. Rodriguez, with me. The Xerillians watched in stunned silence as Rachel and her team departed. On the tactical displays, they could see human combat units engaging the swarm forces directly, adapting their strategies in real time to counter the alien attacks. Impossible, Vexter muttered, their crystalline form vibrating with increasing agitation. Their organic reaction speeds shouldn't allow for such precise coordination without AI assistance. Outside, Rachel's voice crackled over the comm as she led her team against a swarm landing party. The aliens watched in amazement as human soldiers demonstrated capabilities that defied their understanding of organic limitations. Strike Team Bravo, flank left. Rodriguez, I need that heavy weapon support now. Rachel's commands cut through the chaos of battle. They're using their standard hive mind tactics. Let's show them why that doesn't work against humans. The Xerillians observed as human forces executed complex maneuvers that no automated system would have attempted. Soldiers pushed themselves beyond what should have been their physical limits, adapting their tactics on the fly to counter the swarm's advantages. Did that human just? Kexval's translator struggled to process what they were seeing. Did she just use a disabled swarm drone as mobile cover while returning fire? Captain Harrison has always been creative. Rodriguez's voice came through the comm, accompanied by the sound of heavy weapons fire. You should see what she does with improvised explosives. As if on cue, a series of precisely timed detonations disrupted the swarm's formation. Human forces surged forward, exploiting gaps in the enemy's biological network, that no eye would have predicted. This defies all conventional combat doctrine, Vector declared, their tactical analysis patterns becoming increasingly erratic. Their strategies have no discernible pattern, yet they're achieving unprecedented effectiveness against swarm units. The battle raged for hours, with human forces gradually pushing back the invasion through sheer determination and adaptability. The Xyrillians watched in growing amazement as soldiers continued fighting despite injuries that should have incapacitated them, coordinating complex maneuvers through nothing more than shouted commands and hand signals. Finally, the remaining swarm vessels retreated, their hive mind apparently unable to compute an effective response to human combat techniques. Rachel returned to the command center, her armor scorched but her grin unchanged. "Sorry about the impromptu demonstration," she said, removing her helmet. "Not exactly how we plan to show you human combat capabilities, but sometimes the best lessons are practical ones." Your species, Kexval's translator hummed with what might have been awe, fights with organic appendages, leads from the front lines, and adapts strategies faster than automated systems can compute optimal solutions. "Well, when you put it that way, it does sound a bit crazy," Rachel admitted, checking the battle damage reports. "But it works. Humans have been fighting our own battles for thousands of years. We've gotten pretty good at it." Commander Vector's crystalline form pulsed with new patterns of understanding. Perhaps we have been approaching combat from the wrong perspective. The swarm's greatest advantage has always been their ability to adapt to conventional warfare doctrine. And there's nothing conventional about how humans fight," Rachel finished. "That's kind of our specialty." As the cleanup operations began, the Xyrillian delegation huddled together, their crystalline forms resonating with intense discussion frequencies. Rachel could only imagine what reports they would send back to their high command about humanity's combat capabilities. One thing was certain, their allies' understanding of warfare would never be quite the same after witnessing humans in action. Sometimes, Rachel thought, the best way to advance interspecies relations was to show them exactly why humanity had survived countless conflicts through sheer determination and adaptability, even if that meant occasionally shocking their alien allies with displays of what motivated humans could accomplish without relying on automated combat systems. 3 days after the swarm attack, Rachel found herself in what had to be one of the most unusual training sessions in human military history. The massive exercise hall of the ISDF headquarters had been converted into a joint human-Xyrillian combat training facility, though joint might have been a generous term for the chaos unfolding before her. No, Commander Vector's translator hummed with frustration as their crystalline form flickered rapidly. "Your organic combat units cannot possibly integrate with our automated defense matrices, the synchronization requirements alone." "Actually," Rachel interrupted, pointing to where Lieutenant Rodriguez was demonstrating hand-to-hand combat techniques to a fascinated group of Xyrillian technical specialists. "I think you'll find humans are pretty good at adaptation. Watch this." Rodriguez moved through a series of complex maneuvers, his cybernetic leg allowing him to demonstrate how human fighters could interface with technology while maintaining their organic unpredictability. The Xyrillian observer's crystalline forms pulsed with patterns that Rachel had learned to recognize as intense interest. "Impossible," one of the Xyrillian technicians declared, their harmonic frequencies buzzing with calculation. "The neural interface lag alone should prevent such precise control." "That's because you're thinking like a machine," Rodriguez explained, executing a perfect spinning kick. "Humans don't wait for optimal solutions. We anticipate, we feel, we react. Sometimes the best move isn't the most logical one." Ambassador Kexval drifted closer to Rachel, their crystalline structure emanating patterns of curiosity. "Your species continues to confound our understanding. We've analyzed the battle data from the swarm attack countless times. Your forces achieved victory through methods that violate every principle of efficient combat operations." "Efficiency isn't everything," Rachel replied, watching as more human soldiers began demonstrating their combat styles to the increasingly interested Xyrillians. Sometimes the enemy's biggest weakness is their inability to comprehend illogical actions. Across the training hall, a group of human combat engineers had begun explaining their approach to battlefield improvisation. The Xyrillian observers' translation units nearly overloaded trying to process concepts like jury-rigging and winging it. But how do you calculate optimal solutions without full computational analysis? A Xyrillian tactical officer demanded, their form flickering with confusion. We don't, one of the engineers replied cheerfully, demonstrating how to turn standard equipment into decidedly non-standard weapons. Sometimes you just have to trust your gut and hope for the best. Trust your gut. The translator struggled with the idiom as the Xyrillians' crystalline forms resonated with collective bewilderment. It's a human thing, Rachel explained, hiding her amusement. We have evolved to process complex situations through both logical and intuitive methods. Sometimes our instincts see solutions that pure logic might miss. Commander Vexter's tactical patterns pulsed with consideration. This could explain your effectiveness against the swarm. Their hive mind operates on purely logical parameters. They cannot compute responses to actions that defy computational analysis. Exactly, Rachel nodded. Which is why I think our forces could work together better than either of us initially believed. Your automated systems provide precision and coordination that humans can't match, while our adaptability and unpredictability cover your blind spots. The training session continued, with humans and Xyrillians slowly finding ways to bridge their vastly different approaches to combat. Rachel watched as Rodriguez taught Xyrillian technicians how to modify their automated units to better support human fighters, while the aliens shared insights about swarm tactics that human analysts had missed. Captain Harrison, Kexval's translator, hummed thoughtfully. Our initial assessment of human combat capabilities was severely limited. We assumed that any species advanced enough for interstellar travel would have progressed beyond direct physical combat. Instead, you found out we've just gotten really good at it, Rachel grinned. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, especially when they're completely unexpected. A commotion from the training floor drew their attention. Rodriguez had apparently convinced some of the Xyrillian combat units to attempt synchronized operations with human fighters. The result was a bizarre but surprisingly effective demonstration of organic and automated forces working in harmony. Remarkable, Vexter observed, their tactical patterns shifting rapidly. The human fighters are adjusting their movements to complement our unit's programmed responses, while our systems are learning to anticipate human combat instincts. Integration goes both ways, Rachel explained. Your automated units are precise and predictable, which actually makes them perfect partners for human fighters. We can adapt to their patterns while maintaining our own unpredictability. The day continued with more joint exercises, each success building confidence on both sides. The Xyrillians began to see how their technological precision could enhance rather than replace human combat capabilities, while the humans learned to appreciate the advantages of working alongside automated support units. As the training session wound down, Rachel noticed something remarkable. The Xyrillians' initially rigid combat formations had begun incorporating elements of human flexibility, while the human fighters were moving with more calculated precision thanks to their alien allies' influence. Perhaps, Kexval suggested, their crystalline form glowing with what might have been enthusiasm. There is more to combat effectiveness than pure computational efficiency. And maybe, Rachel added, watching as humans and aliens continued their exercises, there's more to fighting than just winning. Sometimes it's about finding new ways to work together, even when it seems impossible. Commander Vexter's tactical patterns stabilized into what Rachel had learned to recognize as determination. The swarm will not expect this level of integration between our forces. Their analytical matrices cannot process such combinations of precision and unpredictability. That's the idea, Rachel smiled. The best strategy is the one your enemy never sees coming. And I'd say a partnership between organic human fighters and crystalline alien automatons definitely qualifies as unexpected. As the day's training concluded, Rachel couldn't help but feel optimistic about the future. What had started as a cultural misunderstanding was evolving into something revolutionary, a true synthesis of human and alien combat techniques that could change the course of the war against the swarm. The warning came at dawn. Multiple swarm fleets, larger than any previously encountered, were converging on Earth's defense perimeter. In the ISDF command center, human and Xyrillian officers worked side by side, their previous misunderstandings forgotten in the face of imminent threat. "They've adapted their tactics," Commander Vexter observed, their crystalline form pulsing with tactical analysis patterns. "The swarm appears to have incorporated countermeasures based on our previous engagement." Rachel studied the holographic display, noting the unusual formation patterns. "They're expecting us to fight the same way we did last time. That's their mistake." She activated the facility-wide comm. "All units, initiate Operation Thunderstrike. Human Xyrillian combat teams, prepare for synchronized deployment." The past weeks of joint training were about to be put to the ultimate test. In the launch bays below, human fighters equipped with Xyrillian enhanced combat gear prepared alongside crystalline automated units that had been modified to support organic combat tactics. "Remember," Rachel addressed the assembled forces, "they're counting on either pure human unpredictability or standard Xyrillian precision. They're not ready for both." The first wave of swarm vessels breached the atmosphere, their biological hulls darkening the sky. But this time, Earth's defenders were ready with something unprecedented. Human fighters launched into battle, their movements enhanced by Xyrillian technology, but maintaining their organic unpredictability. Crystalline automated units moved in perfect synchronization with their human partners, creating combat patterns that defied conventional analysis. "Bravo team, execute Maneuver Sigma," Rachel commanded, leading her own unit into the fray. Rodriguez coordinated the heavy weapons teams, their attacks precisely timed to exploit gaps created by the unconventional human-alien tactics. The swarm's hive mind struggled to compute effective responses. Their adaptive algorithms, designed to counter either methodical or chaotic opponents, failed to process the hybrid warfare unleashed against them. "Their tactical matrices are destabilizing," Vexter reported, their crystalline form brightening with excitement. "They cannot formulate effective countermeasures against our integrated combat patterns." The battle raged across sea and sky, with human ingenuity and Xyrillian precision combining in ways that even their own commanders hadn't anticipated. When the swarm adapted to counter human unpredictability, they were met with devastating automated precision strikes. When they adjusted to handle Xyrillian combat patterns, human fighters exploited their rigid expectations with creative solutions that defied computational analysis. Hours passed as the tide slowly turned. The swarm's attempts to divide human and Xyrillian forces failed as the integrated teams maintained their revolutionary fighting style. Finally, after a devastating series of coordinated strikes, the remaining swarm vessels began to retreat. But the victory had come at a cost. Both human and Xyrillian forces had suffered losses, and the battlefield was littered with the aftermath of the most significant combat engagement in Earth's recent history. 2 weeks after the battle, Rachel stood before the combined human-Xyrillian High Command, presenting their analysis of the engagement. The chamber was filled with military leaders from both species, their attention focused on the holographic battle recordings. "What you're seeing," Rachel explained, "isn't just a military victory. It's proof that our differences can be our greatest strength." The swarm failed not because they couldn't match our individual capabilities, but because they couldn't comprehend our ability to combine them. Ambassador Kexval's crystalline form pulsed with patterns of agreement. "When we first observed human combat methods, we thought them primitive and inefficient. We could not have been more wrong. Your species' apparent limitations are, in fact, extraordinary advantages." The recording showed human fighters performing maneuvers that would have been impossible without Xyrillian technological support, while automated units demonstrated adaptability that their original programming would have prevented. The implications extend beyond combat. Commander Vexter added, their tactical patterns shifting thoughtfully. Our entire understanding of effective warfare must be reevaluated. Perhaps other aspects of our civilizations could benefit from similar integration. Rachel nodded, advancing the display to show the new training programs being implemented. We're already seeing improvements in both human and Xyrillian combat effectiveness. Our fighters are learning precision from your automated systems, while your units are beginning to incorporate elements of human adaptability. The High Command Chamber buzzed with discussion as both species contemplated the possibilities. What had begun as a shocking discovery of human combat methods had evolved into something revolutionary, a true synthesis of organic and automated warfare that could change the course of galactic history. Captain Harrison, one of the Xyrillian high commanders, addressed her, their crystalline form emanating patterns of respect. Your species has taught us that true combat effectiveness cannot be measured solely by computational efficiency. The human capacity for illogical yet successful actions is remarkable. And we've learned that sometimes the best solution isn't just charging in with organic determination, Rachel replied. Your species' focus on precision and analysis has helped us refine our natural abilities in ways we never considered. As the presentation concluded, Rachel couldn't help but reflect on how far they'd come from that first shocking demonstration of human combat capabilities. The Xyrillians had moved from horror at human methods to genuine appreciation of their unique advantages. Humans, in turn, had learned to enhance their natural abilities with alien technology without losing the unpredictability that made them effective. You know, Rachel commented to Ambassador Kexval as they left the chamber, when you first arrived, I never thought I'd see Xyrillian combat units attempting to understand human intuition. And I never imagined, Kexval's translator hummed with amusement, that we would be modifying our automated systems to incorporate what you call gut feelings. The galaxy is full of surprises. In the training facilities below, human and Xyrillian forces continued their joint exercises, each learning from the other in ways that defied conventional wisdom. The sight of organic fighters moving in concert with crystalline automated units had become normal, a symbol of how far both species had come in understanding each other. The swarm will return, Commander Vexter noted, their tactical patterns showing concern. They will attempt to adapt to our integrated combat methods. Let them try. Rachel smiled. The thing about human unpredictability combined with Xyrillian precision is that there's always another surprise waiting. Some things just can't be computed. As she watched the continued integration of human and alien forces, Rachel knew they had discovered something more valuable than just a new way to fight. They had found a way to turn their differences into strengths, proving that sometimes the most effective solution was the one that nobody, not even a hive-mind superorganism, could have predicted. The galaxy would never be quite the same. And that was exactly the point. After all, adaptation wasn't just about survival. It was about learning to thrive in ways that challenged everything you thought you knew about what was possible.